Part 5. The legend 50 years after the Battle of Velcara Prime, the galaxy was a different place. Jiwan stood before the Monument of Mercy and felt the weight of years settle on her shoulders. She was old now, not as ancient as Minji had been, but old enough to feel time passing. The monument rose 300 feet into the sky, made of human steel and Velcari crystal fused together in a way that caught the light and made it dance. The sculpture showed two figures reaching toward each other. One was Thelva, his forearms extended in aid. The other was a human, hands raised to accept help. Behind them, carved in perfect detail, were scenes from both the rescue of the Eternal Dawn and the Battle of Velcara Prime. At the base, words were carved in both languages. Mercy is the first law of civilization. It never stops being beautiful, a voice said beside her. Jiwan turned. A young Velcari stood there, scales shimmering in soft blues and greens. She recognized him immediately. Ambassador Hanul, I didn't expect to see you here today. I come often, Hanul said. His English was perfect, with just a trace of an accent that made it charming. My great-great-grandfather's story lives here. How could I stay away? Hanul was Thelva's descendant, named with a human name in honor of the Alliance. He served as Velcari's ambassador to Earth, a position of incredible importance. The bond between humans and Velcari had only grown stronger over the decades. I heard you're returning to Earth next week, Hanul said. Yes. My time as ambassador here is ending. Someone younger needs to take over. Jiwan smiled. I'm ready to go home and rest. You earned that rest. You changed everything, you know. If you hadn't found those old records, if you hadn't started the Remember the Mercy campaign, we would all be dead. Jiwan shook her head. I just reminded people what they should never have forgotten. The real heroes were the ones who answered the call. Like Admiral Taeyang. They stood in silence for a moment looking at the monument. A group of young people approached. A mixed group of humans and Velcari, all wearing student uniforms from the New Mercy University. The school taught both species together, creating the next generation of leaders who would know each other not as aliens but as friends. One of the students, a human girl, noticed Jiwan. Her eyes went wide. Ambassador Jiwan? Is that you? Jiwan nodded. The students rushed over, excited and respectful. Can we ask you questions? The girl said. We're studying the Mercy crisis for our history class. Of course, Jiwan said. A Velcari boy raised his hand. Is it true you found the story by accident? Not accident. I was searching for something important about early human colony days. I found the most important thing of all, a debt unpaid. What made you think anyone would care? The human boy asked. It was so long ago. Why would people respond? Jiwan thought carefully. Because humans remember, not always right away, not always perfectly. But when we're reminded of kindness, when we see that someone helped us when they didn't have to, something inside us responds. We want to be worthy of that kindness. We want to repay it. A young Velcari girl spoke quietly. My teacher said that before humans came, we were dying. Not just from the swarm, we were dying inside. We had become cold and proud. Then humans showed us who we used to be. Hanul put a hand on the girl's shoulder. That's true. My ancestors had forgotten how to feel. They punished Thelva for showing mercy because they were afraid of emotion. But when humanity came to save us, when we saw them willing to die for us, we remembered. We remembered that mercy and compassion are not weakness. They're the strongest things in the universe. The students asked more questions. Jiwan and Hanul answered them all. They talked about the battle, about the cost, about the friendship that grew from sacrifice. The students listened with wide eyes, taking notes and recording everything. When the students finally left, Jiwan felt tired but happy. They'll carry the story forward. It won't be forgotten again. It's already a legend, Hanul said. Do you know how many other species have changed their policies because of what happened? The Korthan Republic now has a mercy protocol. They send aid to anyone in distress. The Vreen Collective established a memorial day for compassion. Even the isolated Dreth have opened their borders for the first time in 1,000 years. Everyone watched humanity cross the stars to repay a debt, and it changed how the galaxy thinks. Jiwan had heard reports. The story had spread far beyond human and Velcari space. Other species talked about it in reverent tones. Some thought it was myth, too good to be true, but the evidence was there. The monuments, the records, the survivors who told their stories. I visited Minji before she died, Jiwon said quietly. 10 years ago. She was 191 years old. She told me she was ready to go because she had seen the debt repaid. She had seen humans and Velkari fighting together, building together. She said it was more than she ever dreamed. She kept the flower, didn't she? The one Thelva returned? Yes, it's in a museum now on Earth. Millions of people visit it every year. They stand in front of that simple pressed flower, and they understand what it represents. One small act of kindness that changed the galaxy. Hanul looked at the monument. My great-great-grandfather kept a flower too. The one Hana gave him originally. He held it when he died, alone in exile, punished for doing the right thing. I wish he could have lived to see this, to see humanity come, to know he was right all along. He knew, Jiwon said softly. He kept that flower for over 100 years. He never doubted his choice, and his sacrifice inspired everything that came after. Without his example, humanity wouldn't have known what mercy looks like. They walked through the memorial gardens together. Everywhere, humans and Velkari moved in harmony. Children played together, speaking both languages interchangeably. Scientists collaborated on projects. Artists created beauty that combined both cultures. We've created something new, Anil said. Not human or Velkari, but both. Something stronger than either of us alone. That's what mercy does, Jiwon said. It doesn't just save lives. It creates bonds that nothing can break. They reached the Hall of Names, a long wall carved with every name of every human and Velkari who died in the Battle of Velkara Prime. 42,000 human names. 18,000 Velkari names. Each one a life given so others could live. At the very top, in letters twice as large as the others, was Admiral Taiyang's name. Beside it was a quote from his last transmission. We pay our debts. We honor mercy. A ceremony was beginning. Jiwon and Hanil joined the crowd. Every day at sunset, people gathered here to remember. Today, a Velkari elder spoke about the battle. Tomorrow, a human veteran would share stories. The remembering never stopped. As the ceremony concluded, children came forward and placed flowers at the base of the monument. Human children and Velkari children, working together, creating a rainbow of colors. It was a tradition now, started by someone who remembered Hana's gift to Thelva. After the ceremony, Jiwon and Hanul walked back to the diplomatic quarter together. The sun was setting, painting the sky in brilliant colors. Do you think other species will follow our example? Hanul asked. Will they show mercy to strangers? Some will. Some won't. But the possibility exists now. Before, most species saw kindness as weakness. Now they know better. They saw what mercy can build. Even if they choose not to follow it, they can never claim they didn't know another way was possible. Jiwon stopped and looked back at the monument, glowing in the sunset light. You know what the most important part of the story is? It's not that Thelva showed mercy. It's not that humanity repaid the debt. It's that both sides chose compassion over convenience. Thelva could have followed orders. Humanity could have said the debt was too old to matter. But both sides chose to be better than they had to be. That's the real lesson. Hanil nodded slowly. Mercy is not passive. It's active. It requires courage. Yes. And now the whole galaxy knows that. They reached the diplomatic residence. Hanil paused at the entrance. Thank you, Ambassador, for finding the story, for making sure we remembered. Thank you for being the kind of people worth saving, Jiwon said with a smile. That night, Jiwon sat in her quarters and wrote her final report as ambassador. She included everything: the cultural exchanges, the trade agreements, the military cooperation. But she ended with something personal. 50 years ago, humanity learned that mercy given is mercy earned. Today, that lesson has spread across the galaxy. Future generations of humans and Velkari will grow up together, never knowing a time when we were not allies, and other species watch and learn. This is how civilization advances, not through conquest or domination, but through compassion and sacrifice. The legend of the Eternal Dawn and the Battle of Velkara Prime will be told for thousands of years. And every time it is told, someone somewhere will choose to show mercy to a stranger. That is the true victory. That is what makes it all worthwhile. She attached a final image to her report. It was a picture of a pressed flower in a museum case, simple, faded, and priceless. Below it she wrote, "This is what changed the galaxy. Never forget, the story was complete. The debt was paid. And the legend would live forever." Part 4. The Battle of Velkara Prime. The Dravoth swarm hit the human defense line like a wave of living nightmares. Kyung pulled her fighter into a hard turn, barely avoiding a stream of bioacid that would have melted through her hull. Beside her, her twin sister Somin blasted apart a swarm drone with precise cannon fire. They had flown together their whole lives through training and combat, and they moved like one person in two ships. 3 more coming up behind us, Somin called. I see them. Kyung rolled her fighter and dove toward the nearest human carrier. The swarm drones followed exactly as she planned. The carrier's point defense systems tore the pursuers apart. Nice flying, Admiral Taeyang's voice came through their headsets. All fighters focus on the scout organisms. Don't let them get targeting data on our capital ships. Kyung loved the Admiral. He was smart and brave, and he actually listened to his pilots instead of just giving orders. His great-grandfather saved the Eternal Dawn, and now he was saving the Velkari. Some families just had heroism in their blood. The battle was 3 hours old, and it was chaos. The swarm fought like nothing humans had ever faced. No tactics, no strategy, just endless waves of bioships trying to overwhelm through sheer numbers. But numbers were not enough against human determination. Velkari ships fought alongside human vessels now. At first they held back, proud and uncertain. But when they saw humans dying to protect Velkari worlds, something changed. Old warriors found new courage. The Velkari military remembered why they had once been great. On the surface of Velkari's largest moon, General Bora directed ground forces against swarm landing sites. The creatures were trying to establish breeding grounds, growing new warriors from consumed biological matter. Bora could not let that happen. Artillery, fire on grid 7-7, she commanded. Infantry, hold the perimeter. Do not let anything through. The ground shook as massive cannons fired. Swarm warriors. Things that looked like crosses between insects and nightmares died by the hundreds, but more kept coming. A young Velkari warrior fought beside Bora's command post. His name was Venka, and he was Thelva's great-grandchild. He had volunteered immediately when the humans arrived, ashamed that his people had punished the ancestor who saved them. General, Venka called. The left flank is being overrun. Bora did not hesitate. Redirect reserves. Send everything we have. And get me air support now. Kyung and Somin received the call. We're on it, Kyung said, already diving toward the moon's surface. Her fighter screamed through the atmosphere, sister right beside her. They saw the swarm warriors swarming over human and Velkari positions. Light them up, Somin said grimly. The twins opened fire. Their weapons carved lines of destruction through the swarm forces. On the ground, soldiers cheered and pressed forward. But the swarm was vast. For every bioship destroyed, 2 more appeared. The human fleets fought brilliantly, but they were being bled. Ships fell burning toward the planet. Escape pods launched into space. Medic vessels rushed to save survivors. Jiwon worked on one of those medic vessels. She had no military training, but she could help coordinate evacuations and medical supplies. She watched the battle on displays and felt sick seeing how many were dying. We're losing, one of the medics said quietly. No, Jiwon said firmly. We're not. We just need to hold until... Her words cut off as alarms screamed. A massive swarm bioship, easily 3 times the size of any human dreadnought, emerged from behind the planet. Sensor readings identified it as the Swarm Queen, the central intelligence coordinating the entire attack. All ships target that vessel, Admiral Taeyang ordered. Take it down! Hundreds of ships opened fire. Missiles, energy beams, kinetic rounds. Everything humanity had invented for killing. The Queen's bioarmor was thick, regenerating as fast as they damaged it. And it was heading directly toward the Velkari homeworld. Admiral Taeyang made a decision. Jiwon watched it happen on the displays and knew what he was about to do. All ships, pull back, the Admiral said calmly. Give me a clear path. Sir, what are you doing? His second-in-command asked. Paying the debt in full, Taeyang said. It's been an honor serving with you all. The Admiral's flagship turned and burned toward the Queen at maximum speed. Its engines glowed white-hot with overload. Every other ship pulled away, giving him the path he requested. No, Jiwon screamed at the screen. Don't do this. But Taeyang was done talking. His ship accelerated faster, faster. The Queen tried to change course, but it was too massive, too slow. The flagship carrying 3,000 crew members crashed into the Queen's central mass at near light speed. The antimatter warheads detonated. The explosion was visible from 3 star systems away. When the light faded, the Queen was gone. Just debris spreading into space, and Admiral Taeyang's ship was gone with it. For a moment, the entire battle stopped. Human and Valkyrie ships hung motionless. The swarm drones drifted without coordination. Then chaos erupted in the swarm ranks. Without the Queen's controlling intelligence, the bioships turned on each other. Some tried to retreat. Others attacked randomly. The unified threat fell apart into confusion. All ships, the new ranking admiral said, her voice thick with grief. Finish them. Make the admiral's sacrifice mean something. The combined human and Valkyrie fleets surged forward. This time the swarm could not coordinate a defense. Ships were destroyed by the hundreds. Kyung and Soman flew their fighters until their weapons ran dry, then returned to rearm and launched again. On the moon, General Bora led a final charge that broke the swarm's ground forces completely. Venka fought beside her, his energy blade cutting through warrior after warrior. For Valkyrie, Venka shouted. For humanity, Bora answered. For mercy, they yelled together. The battle lasted 14 more hours. When it finally ended, the swarm was destroyed. The survivors fled into deep space, never to return. The Valkyrie homeworld was saved. The cost was terrible. 327 human ships destroyed, 42,000 dead, including Admiral Taeyang, another 100,000 wounded. The Valkyrie had lost ships and lives as well, but they had won. Together they won. Jiwan stood on the surface of the Valkyrie homeworld 3 days later. The fighting was over. Cleanup and rescue operations continued, but the immediate crisis had passed. She had come down with a diplomatic delegation. Thelva approached her slowly. The ancient Valkyrie moved carefully, but his eyes were bright. He carried a small case. You are the historian, he said in perfect English. The one who remembered. Yes, Jiwan said. I'm sorry it took so long. We should have come sooner. You came when we needed you most, Thelva said. He opened the case. Inside was a pressed flower, faded but preserved. I kept this for 142 years. The human woman Hana gave it to me. Now I return it to humanity. So you remember what mercy cost and what it earned. Jiwan accepted the flower with shaking hands. Admiral Taeyang was her great-grandson. He died saving your people. I know, Thelva said softly. The circle is complete. I showed mercy. Humanity answered. And both our peoples are changed forever. Was it worth it? Jiwan asked. Everything you lost, everything you suffered? Thelva looked at the sky, where human and Valkyrie ships flew patrols together. I would make the same choice 1,000 times. Mercy is never a mistake. Your people proved that. Around them, humans and Valkyrie worked side by side, helping wounded, repairing damage, and starting to build something new. The debt had been paid. But more than that, a bond had been forged in fire and sacrifice. The galaxy had witnessed something it had never seen before. 2 species willing to die for each other. And that changed everything. Part 3. The reckoning Thelva was old now, so old his scales had faded to almost white. He sat in the grand chamber of the Valkyrie Council and waited to die with his world. Outside, the sky burned. The Dravoth swarm had reached the outer moons. Everyone could see the flashes of weapons fire in orbit, brief sparks that meant ships and lives ending. The Valkyrie military fought bravely, but it was not enough. It was never going to be enough. The council argued about surrender. Some wanted to evacuate as many people as possible. Others insisted they should fight to the last. Thelva said nothing. He had not been allowed to speak in council chambers for 140 years. Exiles did not get voices, but they let him sit here at the end. Perhaps as a cruelty. Perhaps as an acknowledgement that his crime of showing mercy to primitive aliens had led to this weakness that doomed them all. Thelva did not regret saving the humans. He had lived a long life in exile, stripped of rank and honor, but he kept a pressed flower in his home, and when he looked at it, he remembered faces filled with hope and gratitude. He had done the right thing. His people were wrong. An aide rushed into the chamber. Council! The defense perimeter has collapsed. The swarm will reach our world in 3 days, perhaps less. The council members looked at each other with despair in their eyes. This was the end of the Valkyrie people. Thousands of years of civilization, culture, and history would be consumed by mindless hunger. Then every communication screen in the chamber exploded with incoming signals. What is this? The head counselor demanded. The aide worked frantically at his station. Ships, massive fleet emerging from jump space. Hundreds of vessels. Thousands. They're not Dravoth, they're human. Silence crashed through the chamber. Human? Why would humans come here? The largest communication screen activated. A human appeared wearing a military uniform covered in medals. He was middle-aged, strong-looking, with kind eyes. He spoke in perfect Velkari, better than any human should know. Velkari Council, I am Admiral Taeyang of the Human Alliance 3rd Fleet. Behind me are 500 warships of the line. Behind them, 2,000 support vessels. Behind them, 4,000 civilian ships that volunteered for this mission. We are here to stand with you against the swarm. The counselors stared in shock. One finally found his voice. We did not request aid. We do not need human interference. Admiral Taeyang smiled slightly. 142 years ago, a Velkari commander named Thelva saved 300 humans who were dying in space. He gave us supplies, repairs, and a path to a new home. He broke your laws to show us mercy when he owed us nothing. The Admiral's expression hardened. Today we pay that debt. Humanity stands with Velkari. Not because you asked. Because it's the right thing to do. Thelva's hands shook. They came, the humans came, another counselor spoke. That was one ship. 300 people. You bring thousands of vessels and risk millions of lives for mercy, Admiral Taeyang interrupted. The first law of civilization. Your people taught us that. Commander Thelva taught us that. Now please get out of our way and let us save your world. The communication screens multiplied. More human commanders appeared, coordinating fleet positions. Ship after ship emerged from jump space. More than the Velkari had even known existed. Human vessels surrounded the Velkari homeworld in defensive formations 3 layers deep. Thelva stood slowly. The whole chamber turned to look at him. Is it true? The head counselor asked. Did you really save a human ship? Yes, Thelva said quietly. I broke our law. I showed mercy to primitives. You exiled me for it. You said I was weak. You said I betrayed everything we stood for. And now they come to save us, another counselor whispered. Admiral Taeyang's image turned, looking directly at Thelva, though he should not have been able to see into the chamber. Commander Thelva, sir. My great-grandfather was Captain Daeho of the Eternal Dawn. He told my grandfather about you. My grandfather told my father. My father told me. Every generation of my family has known your name and what you did. We've waited our whole history for a chance to repay you. The Admiral saluted. Thank you for saving us. Now let us save you. Tears ran down Thelva's aged face. I kept the flower, he said, though the Admiral could not hear him. I kept it all these years. The communication shifted to tactical displays. The human fleets moved with purpose and skill, taking defensive positions with practiced efficiency. Velkari military commanders, desperate and with nothing to lose, began coordinating with the human forces. But it was not just military vessels. Jiwan's face appeared on another screen. She was aboard a civilian cargo ship that had been retrofitted with weapons. Velkari people, she said in broken but earnest Velkari language. My name is Jiwan. I found records of what happened to the Eternal Dawn. I found the story everyone forgot. We forgot you. We forgot what we owed. I'm sorry it took so long, but we're here now. We remember. The message was broadcast to every Velkari communication device. Across the planet, people stopped and listened. More humans appeared on screens. Scientists, engineers, doctors, pilots, soldiers. All volunteers. All saying the same thing, we pay our debts. We remember the mercy. One transmission showed an incredibly old human woman holding a preserved flower. I am Minji, she said, her voice shaking with age. I was 8 years old when Thelva saved us. I'm 154 now. I've lived my whole life because of him. Every human alive today exists because the Velkari chose mercy. We will not forget again. The head counselor turned to Thelva. For the first time in 140 years, he spoke to the exile with respect. It seems, old friend, that you were not weak. It seems you were the strongest of us all. Thelva could barely speak. They came. They actually came. More than came. Another counselor said, watching the fleet numbers climb. When was the last time we saw this many ships in one place? When was the last time anyone sacrificed so much for another species? Outside, the first human fighters engaged the forward edge of the Dravoth swarm. Explosions lit the sky. The battle had begun. Admiral Taeyang's voice came over all channels, human and Velkari alike. All ships, this is Taeyang. We are not here to win glory. We are not here for conquest or gain. We are here to pay a debt. We are here because mercy was shown and mercy must be answered. The Velkari gave us tomorrow when we had nothing. Today we give them tomorrow. All ships engage the enemy. The human armada surged forward, thousands of ships moving as one, throwing themselves between the swarm and the Velkari homeworld. Thelva stood in the council chamber and watched humanity go to war for his people. He thought about the small human colony ship, 300 frightened people floating in the dark. He thought about his choice to help them, knowing it would cost him everything. Mercy is the first law of civilization, he whispered. And now, 142 years later, that mercy was returning tenfold. Humanity had not forgotten. They had come across the stars bringing their fleets and their courage and their determination to save the people who once saved them. The debt was being paid. And the galaxy would never be the same. Part 2, The Forgotten Debt One. 142 years after the Eternal Dawn landed, humanity owned half the galaxy. Jiwan stood in the historical archive on New Terra and stared at dusty old records nobody had looked at in decades. She was a historian, young and obsessed with the early colony days. Most people found history boring. They wanted to look forward, not backward. But Jiwan believed the past held important truths. There's something here, she muttered to herself, scrolling through ancient files. Something everyone forgot. The file was labeled First Contact Distress Rescue, year 2147. Jiwan opened it and began reading. Her eyes went wide. An alien species had saved the Eternal Dawn. They had given supplies, repairs, and star maps when humanity was helpless and dying. A commander named Thelva had broken his people's laws to show mercy. And then, nothing. No follow-up. No attempt to find them again. No thank you. Humanity had been saved by aliens, and then they forgot. Jiwan felt sick to her stomach. She dug deeper into the archives, finding the original message beacons, the captains, logs, even video of the Velkari working on the ship. These beings had given humanity a future, and humanity had moved on without looking back. How could we forget? Jiwan whispered. She started searching for survivors. Most of the original colonists were long dead, but medical technology had improved dramatically. Some people from that era were still alive, very old but still here. That was how Jiwan found Minji. The old woman lived in a quiet house on the edge of New Terra's capital city. She was 154 years old, her body kept alive by advanced medicine, but her mind was still sharp. When Jiwan explained why she came, Minji's eyes filled with tears. Finally, Minji said, "Someone who wants to remember." Minji had been 8 years old on the Eternal Dawn. She remembered everything. The fear when the engines died, her mother holding her while they waited to freeze in the dark, and then the miracle of the silver ship appearing. They were beautiful, Minji said softly. The Velkari. They glowed. I was a child, and I was so scared, but when I saw them working to save us, I knew we would be okay. She led Jiwan to a small room. On the wall hung a frame with a single pressed flower inside. Thelva gave this back to my mother before he left, Minji explained. My mother gave it to him as a gift, but he returned it. He said humans should keep something to remember mercy by. I've kept it my whole life. It's my most precious thing. Why didn't anyone try to find them? Jiwan asked. Why didn't we thank them? Minji sighed. People were busy building, surviving. Then came conflicts with other species, expansion, growth. The Eternal Dawn became just one small story among thousands. Most people today don't even know it happened, but I never forgot. Every night before I sleep, I thank Thelva. He gave me my whole life. Jiwan left Minji's house with a mission burning in her heart. She started a media campaign. She wrote articles. She made videos. She showed people the old footage of the Eternal Dawn dying in space and the Velkari arriving like angels. She showed Minji telling her story, holding the pressed flower with shaking hands. They showed us mercy when we were nothing, Jiwan said in her videos. They gave us everything and we forgot. We owe them more than we can ever repay. The campaign spread like fire. Remember the Mercy became a movement across human space. People were shocked, angry at themselves, ashamed they had forgotten. "We have to find them," people said. "We have to thank them." Jiwan worked with xenologists and historians. They traced the Velkari from old records. It took months, but finally they located Velkari space. What they found was disturbing. The Velkari Empire had collapsed inward. Where they once controlled 100 systems, they now held only 20. Their technology had not advanced. Their ships were old. Reports said they were proud and isolated, refusing to trade or interact with younger species they considered primitive. "They saved us, and while we grew strong, they grew weak," Jiwon said to her team. "We have to help them." But when human diplomats tried to make contact, the Velkari refused. Cold, formal messages came back. "The Velkari Empire does not require human assistance. Do not contact us again." Jiwon was crushed. Why won't they let us help? An old alien trader at a space station gave her the answer. The Velkari are proud. They believe they are superior. When that commander, what was his name? Thelva. When he saved your ship, his people punished him, exiled him, broke him. They saw his mercy as weakness. Now they're too proud to admit they need help. "Even if they're dying?" Jiwan asked. The trader's expression was grim. "Sometimes pride kills." Then the news broke. A new threat was sweeping through the outer regions of the galaxy. The Dravoth swarm, a hive mind species that consumed all biological matter it encountered. World after world fell silent, and the swarm was heading directly into Velkari space. Jiwan watched the reports with growing horror. The Velkari military was engaging the swarm and losing badly. Their old ships and outdated tactics could not stop the endless waves of bioships. Velkari colonies were being evacuated. Refugees fled inward toward their homeworld. The Velkari Council sent no requests for aid. Their pride would not bend even facing extinction. Jiwan stood before the Human Alliance Council and spoke with everything she had. "We owe them. They saved 300 people when they had no reason to. One of them sacrificed everything to show us mercy. Now they're going to die, and they're too proud to ask for help. So we don't wait for them to ask, we just go," the council argued. Some said the Velkari refused contact, so they should respect that choice. Others worried about the cost and risk. But Jiwan showed them Minji's flower. She played the old recordings of Hana crying for her daughter, of Daeho's dignity in the face of death, of Thelva saying, "Mercy is the first law of civilization. If we let them die when we can save them," Jiwan said quietly, "then we don't deserve to be called civilized. We don't deserve what they gave us." The vote was close, but it passed. The Human Alliance would answer the debt. They would send their fleets to Velkari space whether the Velkari wanted help or not, because mercy once given creates a debt that must be repaid, and humanity finally remembered what it owed. Jiwan sat in Minji's house that night and told her the news. The old woman cried tears of joy. "They'll remember him now," Minji said, holding the pressed flower. "They'll remember what Thelva did. He'll finally get the thank you he deserved." "We're going to save them," Jiwan promised. "Just like they saved us." Across human space, the call went out. Fleets assembled. Volunteers signed up by the millions. And a debt 142 years old prepared to be paid in full. The Velkari didn't know it yet, but help was coming, whether they wanted it or not. Part 1. The Mercy. The eternal dawn was dying in the darkness between stars. Captain Daeho sat in his command chair and watched the numbers fall on every screen around him. Oxygen at 30%, power down to emergency levels, hull temperature dropping toward the point where everyone inside would freeze. 300 people were counting on him and he had no answers left. "How long?" he asked quietly. Hana looked up from the engineering station. Her face was pale and tired. She had not slept in 2 days, working non-stop to keep them alive. 18 hours. Maybe 20 if we shut down everything except life support. Daeho nodded slowly. They had tried everything. The engine explosion had been sudden and complete. No way to fix it with what they had on board. No way to call for help because the communication array was part of what exploded. They were too far from any known colony drifting in a region of space where no one came. "I want to send a message," Daeho said. Record everything. Our journey, what happened, who we are. Put it on a beacon and launch it. Maybe someone finds it someday. Hana's eyes filled with tears, but she nodded. I'll set it up. The next hours were strange. People recorded messages to families they would never see again. Parents told their children they loved them. Engineers documented what went wrong so others might learn. Daeho himself sat before a camera and spoke about the dream of reaching a new world, of building something beautiful among the stars. Hana recorded last. She talked about her daughter back on Earth, 7 years old when the colony ship left. You'll be grown now, Hana whispered to the camera. I wish I could have seen you grow up. I wish I could have been there. I love you so much. When the beacon launched, spinning away into the void, Daeho gathered everyone in the main hall. 300 frightened people looked at him, waiting for hope he did not have. We tried everything, he told them. I'm sorry I couldn't get us home, but we went to space together. We dreamed together, and whatever happens next, we face it together. Some people cried, others held each other. A few prayed. Daeho returned to the bridge and waited for the end. That was when the sensors started screaming. Ship! Someone shouted. Huge ship, right on top of us. Daeho stared at the display. Something massive had appeared from nowhere. It was 10 times bigger than the eternal dawn, smooth and silver, shaped like a teardrop made of light. The design was like nothing humans had ever built. Alien, Hana breathed. The strange ship moved closer. Lights played across its hull in patterns that might have been language. Daeho's hands shook as he tried to activate the communication system with what little power remained. This is Captain Daeho of the Earth colony ship Eternal Dawn. He transmitted on every frequency. We are disabled and dying. If you can understand this, we need help, please. For long minutes, nothing happened. Then a new voice came through the speakers. It was smooth and strange, speaking words that made no sense. But then something changed, and the voice spoke again in broken English. Human vessel. We hear, we see your damage. We see you're dying. Hope exploded in Daeho's chest. Yes, can you help us? We have 300 people, children, families. Please, if you can do anything. Silence stretched. Daeho watched the alien ship hang motionless beside them. Finally, the voice returned. I am Thelva, commander of Silence of Stars. We are Velkari. Our laws forbid helping primitive species. We should observe only, not interfere. Daeho felt hope drain away. I understand. You have your rules. But please, if there's any way, we don't want to die out here. We just want to live. More silence. Daeho looked at Hana. She was crying again. Then the alien voice spoke with something that sounded like sadness. I watched your message beacon. I heard the woman speak to her child. I heard you speak of dreams. My people say mercy makes us weak, but I think mercy makes us civilized. Lights flared around the alien ship. I choose to help. I choose mercy. Prepare to receive aid. What happened next was like a miracle. Small craft launched from the Velkari ship and attached to the Eternal Dawn's hull. Supplies flooded in. Oxygen tanks, power cells, food, water. Velkari engineers came aboard in environment suits, their forms strange and beautiful, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed soft blue. They moved through the human ship with tools that looked like magic, repairing what they could. Thelva himself came to the bridge. He was tall and graceful, his skin covered in scales that shifted color like oil on water. Through a small translation device, he spoke with Daeho. We cannot repair your main engine, Thelva explained, but we give you backup power. Food for 6 months. Maps to nearest habitable world. Only 3 months travel with your remaining thrusters. You will survive. Daeho could barely speak. Why? You said your laws. My laws are wrong, Thelva said simply. A law that demands we watch children die is not a law worth following. I will be punished by my people. They will say I am weak, but when I am old I will remember this day and know I did what was right. We can never repay this, Daeho said. You saved us. 300 lives because of your choice. Thelva's eyes seemed to smile. Repayment is not why we show mercy. Mercy is the first law of civilization. Remember that. Teach your people that. It is enough. The Velkari worked through the night. When they finished, the Eternal Dawn hummed with new life. Power flowed. Air was clean and fresh. The navigation computer showed a path to safety. As the Velkari prepared to leave, Hana approached Thelva. She held out a small pressed flower, one she had brought from Earth and kept in her quarters. I have nothing valuable to give you, she said. But please take this, so you remember us. Thelva accepted the flower gently with 2 of his 4 hands. I will keep it always, and I will never forget the humans we saved today. The Velkari ship departed as silently as it came, vanishing into the darkness between stars. 3 months later, the eternal dawn landed on a green world under a yellow sun. 300 people stepped onto soil that would become their new home. They named their first city Mercy. They built a monument in the central square with words carved deep. Thelva of the Velkari saved us. We will never forget. And across the stars, Thelva returned to his people and accepted exile for breaking their most sacred law. But he kept the pressed flower in a place of honor and never regretted his choice. Mercy had been given. The debt was born and humanity would remember.